Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute, pun intended. It's been a whole summer actually since I've done a process video, and with good reason. We have been so busy this summer, and I'm sure you were too, but this layout is all about summer, so I thought it would be a perfect comeback. If you remember from the last video, I had this cut file, and these are actually the little pieces that were left over from that cut file, and I did not want them to go to waste, so I thought I would use them to create a whole new layout. So I've taken some of the Shimmerz sprays, and I'll list the colors down in the details below, and decided to color them up because in the last video I used gesso on the page before removing the cut file. These little babies were already all gessoed, so I didn't have to do that part again. But those are all colored up, and I'm going to set those to the side to dry. And while they're drying, I'm going to work on this part of the background. So I've just taken a plain white smooth sheet of cardstock, and I wanted to try ink smooshing just using a stamp block. I don't have gesso on this, which I will regret in a minute, but I wanted to see if I could get away with just doing something simple. And I've decided here at this point that I don't think I have quite enough color, but I'm going to test it out. The little rays, if you will, are they're all dry now. And so I'm just going to place them around and see how much of the color that I stamped on is peeking out after I get them on the page. And you can see here it's not quite enough. You just can't see any of the splotches in the background. So we're going to start over again. This time I am going to use gesso because it's going to allow me to add more color, potentially water, without ripping the page. So that's the ultimate goal, is to not rip our page. These are the Lindy's Magicals powders that I'm pulling out now, and I'm going to use two different colors. One is Sparkling Sunset, and the other is going to be Yellow Rose of Texas. And I love both of these colors. They're so bright and bold, and yet they still have that shimmery effect. And I'm just going to do some packaging, smoosh this down on the paper, and at least try to extend that color out far enough to where you can see it behind all of the rays that we've got painted and waiting on us over to the side. So I'm going to use the brush here, just trying to get enough color down and spread out. You can see that I didn't do a fantastic job of getting enough gesso on the page, because those areas that are looking a little darker to you are where the gesso is thinner. So, you know, that water is starting to soak into the page a little bit. This cardstock is heavy enough to where it's going to support it. It's not going to rip, but you do want to avoid that if possible. And I didn't do a fantastic job, so I need to pay closer attention when I'm getting the gesso down on the page to begin with. So I'm going to add some splatters to finish up this part of the background, and through the magic of losing your camera footage, we are on to this next part. All I did in between finishing the background page and coming back to the pattern papers were just to cut out that yellow circle that you see in the middle, and I hand stitched around the edge of that yellow circle that's going to be the center of my sun, and I glued down the rays and hand stitched at different lengths using two different colors of a really thick craft twine. So that's all you missed. Now we're going to go on to the embellishing part, which is usually everybody's favorite part. I don't know what was wrong with me when I was making this layout, but I was so wishy-washy with what I wanted to put on the page. I do love this 3x4 card with yes repeated down the edge and the watercolor background. So I cut around the edge of the watercolor, and I'm going to use that as a layer. And also this other 3x4 card with wonderful written on it. I'm going to use that as part of my title. So we're going to cut that out, set it to the side, and here I'm showing you that I did some machine stitching around the bottom edge and halfway up each side. And that's just to secure that blue paper that I tore. I like that it looks sort of like it's mimicking the ocean and, you know, the horizon. So it looks like the sun is either rising or setting, whichever way you decide to look at it, out of the water. And that's because you can see the ocean and the horizon in the background of my photo. That was kind of the inspiration for the design of the page. And I don't know if I mentioned it before or not, but I am using the June 2022 hip kits. I'm trying to use up some of my hip kit stash. I have so many kits that I haven't even broken into, and they're just sitting in my storage room, and I can't bear them to go to waste. So I'm gonna start using them up gradually, and hopefully you get to be a part of that with me. So now I'm gonna pull some twine and just add a piece of string to my tag to tie that off. And we're also gonna layer it behind the photo. I'm not the best bow tire, so when I tie twine on tags, I tend to just knot it at the base of the tag where the hole is, and then also another knot at the end of the string so that it doesn't unravel. And then I'll eventually glue that knot in place so it doesn't move all over the page. I also want to layer this frame from the Heidi Swapp embellishments behind the photo and the tag. I feel like it just gives anything that you're going to build in a cluster to the side of the photo, it just gives it a foundation. I always feel like my embellishments need somewhere to land, so I don't want them to always land directly on the photo. So if I'm going to build off to the side, I want a landing strip, a frame, piece of washi tape, maybe a paper strip with a decorative edge, something like that. And then I pull this sunshine word off of the puffy letters or puffy titles, and it's going to make up the rest of our title. So the title is going to be Wonderful Sunshine. So creative, but it works. And I like the spacing. I like the block letters of the wonderful. I like the way it stacks. Here I'm going to take different foam backings. One is just a foam adhesive sheet that I've cut apart, and the other one is a foam strips page, and they're just different thicknesses, different widths of the foam. So my letters are going to be at alternating heights, which I like that look too. Anytime you have a title that you need to squish together for space, or if you just like the aesthetic, I like to do different heights for the foam because it allows you to squish it but still give it a lot of interest, and obviously you can still read it as well. And I really like the way that the sunshine nestles at the bottom edge of the photo and the wonderful stacked words. The ascender in the H for sunshine, it fits perfectly right onto the U, and it'll also give my I dot a place to rest where it won't get lost. So that's going to work out nicely. So I'm going to glue my photo down. I did back it with some tissue paper and also a cutout torn piece of pattern paper that you saw a few minutes ago. Nothing too crazy for layers behind the photos, because I do think I end up going a little embellishment crazy on this layout. I get a little heavy-handed because I just didn't know where to stop. I'm sure a lot of you have that same problem. So I guess just bear with me as I go embellishment crazy here. I think it all works out in the end, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. Getting this tag glued in place. Sometimes it's so hard for me to get everything layered up and stuck down without shifting it, and I get so irritated at myself when I do that because sometimes I don't like where it ultimately ends up if I've shifted it and don't realize it. So I am going to glue as I go here. And here's what I was talking about with the ascender of the H nesting on top of the U and then giving my I dot a place to land. Here I'm just taking one of the manufacturer's strips and cutting it with some scallop scissors. They are not the sharpest scallop scissors, so it kind of messed up a little. I'm gonna trim up the edge of that where the scallops were kind of messy. And I'm gonna layer that along the top edge of that photo. I think a little scallop border adds just the right amount of detail without being overpowering. I'm gonna get that little tag just so. And I had an idea, and I haven't done this before, but I wanted to try it. And I thought that some of the embellishments would be good to add a little bit of a glitter edge. So I've got this Bow Bunny glitter paste. I used it a few layouts ago, and it's so sparkly and just pretty. It's the perfect rose gold color. And already on some of the Heidi Swap embellishments in this kit, there's this rose gold foiling accent, and this rose gold glitter paste matches that rose gold in the foil so perfectly that I just had to use it. So I finished adding it to this one heart, and here in a minute you'll see me pull out 2 smaller hearts. I'm going to add it to the edge of those smaller hearts right there also. And then the last thing that I added to is this star. And so those are just 4, different little icons that I'm going to scatter around the page, but because each of them have the rose gold glitter paste on them now, they look like they're all from the same embellishment pack, and I don't think they are. I think that they were from 2 different embellishment packs, so it kind of ties it all together. But I love the extra sparkle it gives. And this is just a little phrase sticker. I think it says, couldn't get any better, which how can it get better than a good day at the beach? So these little hearts I'm gonna layer up underneath the title. I'm gonna pop them up on some foam, at least one of them, because it's gonna overlap the bigger one. And now you're starting to see what I mean about adding too many embellishments. I'm getting a little crowded down there at the bottom, but I still love the way that they look together. And I could not make up my mind on this corner. There's that one little chipboard piece that says "This Way to Fun," which had all the right colors, and I kind of liked that it added a linear, almost squared off feel. And I do love I love arrows. I like that they direct your attention to something important on the page, which in this case is my daughter playing in the sand. Used to be one of her favorite things to do. And the other piece is that Fun in the Sun with the foil accents. So while I'm deciding which one to use, I'm going to add some thread, little nests of, I think I picked out a teal, a baby pink, and an orange. I didn't think I needed to use a yellow because I already have so much yellow on the page. So I'm going to nest that teal thread there under the larger heart at the top. And I'm securing the tail of the thread so it doesn't flop all around. And then just deciding whether to use the pink or the orange next. And we're going with the orange. Sometimes when it's a new spool of thread, I struggle to get the tail out. And this one happens to be new. So we're struggling a little bit. There we go. Finally getting that unwound. And I'm gonna put that little nest under the star. And that just brings some orange to the other side of the page there. And I do want to raise this star on some foam. So get the foam dots on, and I am still going to use liquid glue because it needs to squish all through that thread and secure it to the page. And I'm going to make sure that tail's not going anywhere either. And we're moving on to the pink thread. That pink thread's gonna go under whichever of these elements I decide to put in that bottom corner. Off camera, I did pull all of the little flowers that I fussy cut from the one piece of pattern paper. They were tiny, and let me tell you, they were not easy to fussy cut when they're this tiny. But because some of the other embellishments I was using were already of a larger scale, I needed smaller things, or medium size and small, to layer in. So now that I've got all of the flowers pretty much glued down, I think I've decided to go with this This Way to Fun arrow sign. It looks like one of the old, billboards with the round light bulbs in it, and it's just so cute. I actually had my daughter come down and I showed her both of them and asked her which one she would choose, and she said for sure this one, so that's the one we're going with. I do raise it up on a little bit of the foam dots because the picture's already raised a little and I didn't want it to be uneven. And I'm just going to get the rest of those flowers glued down around it, and then the thread positioned underneath it. do take a minute to go around the page and kind of ruffle up the edges of those flowers. That marquee sign did not want to stay by itself, so I use my glue bottle to weigh it down for a minute while the glue solidifies and starts to dry. And I'm just going to continue adding these tiny little elements that bring your page together. So off camera, I went to my computer and typed up some journaling strips, printed it out on heavier duty, just copy paper, cut those out, and got them stuck down. And now I'm gonna add the date with a Distress Oxide. I think that's Broken China. I like a watermark date, and so all that means is adding your date in a similar but darker shade of ink than the background paper that you're adding it to. I also added a few sequins and some of those brads, but that is the completed page. Thank you guys for hanging with me till the end. Here are some still shots, some close-ups that show all those little details. This page was so much fun to make, and I really can't believe that summer's over, but at least we get to look back on our summers with pages like these. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. And again, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.